Welcome everyone, this is Tactical Lich here, and today we are showcasing a battle submitted by a new player. Darty Singh here, fielding a Slaanesh army and also picking quite a few interesting units. A front line of Chaos Warriors with Hell Scourges, backed up by a bunch of Marauders with Spears. On the flank, some Daemonites of Slaanesh. And very far back, the new Regiment of Renown, Keeper of Secrets, the Marquis of Masochism, coming in with a bunch of spells including Phantasmagoria as well as Enfeebling Foe, a really strong duelist, accompanied by the Champion of Slaanesh Azazel. Now for the flanks here, we have some Chaos Furies deployed on the very far end or the corner of the map, and of course there are some very staple Hell Striders located on opposite sides of the battlefield, ready to flank. As for their opponent here, a Vampire Coast army with only gunline units, zombie pirate gunnery mobs, backed up by a bunch of deck gunners, a really nice synergy using the shield breaker effect from the deck gunners, eliminating the missile block chance on the Chaos Warriors, and then pepper them down with the zombie pirate gunnery mob. The only problem is that the pistols might not have enough armor piercing to do the damage against the heavily armored Chaos Warriors. Now, for the flanks here, we have a single title of Scold, the Regiment of Renowned Zombie Pirate Deckhand mobs with a lot of HP. 12,000 HP overall, that's going to be quite a bit of stuff for the Slaanesh army to cut through. The other flank, Rotten Promethean's Gunnery Mob, the regular version, a heavily armored defensive unit that can also shoot in melee engagements. They are protecting not only the gunners but also the flank of the Carronade, alongside the Night Terrors. For the leadership, there's only Luthor Harkon and only a Gunnery White without any spellcaster. Definitely a mistake here, though they do have some nice bombers that can eliminate the lightly armored Slaanesh infantry quickly. With both armies introduced, let's get this show on the road. When fighting against the Vampire Coast, it is a great idea to bring infantry-sized character, and on top of that, in Game 3 you have flying infantry characters now. For example here, Azazel. Being a flying 100 speed unit, they can easily dodge those missiles from the Vampire Coast if given the proper micro. With the flying attribute as well, he can pressure Luthor Harkon, who is sitting on a Terrorgeist. At only 90 speed, Azazel can easily catch up with him and drag him into a duel. With this kind of melee pressure, that means Luthor Harkon cannot sit in the safety in disguise with his higher than thou attitude and pistol shot gunning down whatever expensive single entities that the Slaanesh army might bring. That said, the Slaanesh army is still vulnerable to missile fire while marching. You can see that the Marquis of Masochism taking substantial damage already from the Carronade, while the shield breaking deck gunners, which can reduce the missile block chance by 24%, well, these Chaos Warriors now will be eating a bunch of bullets in the face with only a bronze shield, from 55% missile resistance all the way down to 31%. Especially against the black spots with their armor-piercing missiles, the Chaos Warriors will be taking substantial damage, but the deployment here is a bit problematic here. Yes, the black spots does have that armor-piercing weapon strength, but that doesn't mean that they should be sitting in the front taking the charge of these Hell Scourges with their amazing stats. They will struggle to hit with their pitiful attack. Instead, the Pistol Zombies, who is a much cheaper unit, should have stood in the front taking the brunt of the Hell Scourge charges, allowing the black spots to fire at the back instead. Now on the flanks, engagements are beginning as Hell Striders are charging into melee combat. On the other side, Rotting Prometheans actually blocking them and pushing them away with the help of some Night Terrors. But over here, Luthor Harkon diving down, hoping to chase down the Hell Striders, but getting counter-punched by a combination of Phantasmagoria being pinned in place. And then Enfeebling Foe debuffing stats combined with Acquiescence, only 0 melee defense, allowing the Marquis of Masochism as well as Azazel to chase him down and give him a good smacking at the back. Especially with this flanking / rear charge, doubling that charge bonus on the Keepers of Secret. Well, Luthor Harkon is not liking this engagement and will be quickly pushed off, only down to half health at this point. Now as for the infantry engagement here, the Daemonites of Slaanesh, despite being armor piercing, they still struggle to damage the Rotting Prometheans because despite being buffed into 52 melee attack, the 48 melee defense on the rotting Prometheans are actually holding up quite well against the Daemonettes, and now that the Slaanesh magic passive worn off, back to 40 attack, the Slaanesh Daemonettes are struggling to punch through the high melee defenses of the rotting Prometheans. However, gun crabs are few in numbers, and that leaves a lot of opening for Slaanesh to rush in and pick apart the zombie pirate gun lines. The deck gunners and carronades are all gone after being dropped by the devastating flanking charges from the Chaos Furies, as the Night Terrors were not in the position to protect being dragged away by the Hell Striders. That leaves the pistols as the Vampire Coast's sole remaining gunline unit. In the middle, some animated hulks are fighting valiantly. With 110 armor-piercing weapon strength and 32 melee attack, they are actually trashing the poor Chaos Warriors of Slaanesh despite their Hell Scourges giving them maximum melee defense. Now, the pirate gunnery mob, though, they are being overwhelmed by a combination of Spear Marauders and Hell Scourge Warriors. Also over here, Daemonettes of Slaanesh cleaning up all these poor zombie units, while at the back, Luthor Harkon got pushed all the way to the opposite flank, being caught out by Azazel earlier in disguise. He is now down on the ground, trying to aim his pistol at the Marquis of Masochism, hoping to shoot it down before he gets caught once again. But the problem is he forgot to take off, so he is now on the ground, about to be dumpstered by two powerful duelists. Normally, landing when facing superior air combatant isn't exactly a bad idea, but over here with all the supporting monsters otherwise occupied, Luthor is truly alone. He tried to extract himself from the fight, but unfortunately a fascination rampaging him, locking Luthor in this fight where he will eventually fall. While the rest of the Vampire Coast units, they are holding valiantly as Undead should be, but against these overwhelming forces, especially without any options to finish off both Azazel and the Regiment of Renown Keeper of Secrets. Honestly, at this point, things are looking pretty hopeless for the Vampirates, but the Undead are still putting up a great fight, especially the monsters. If this army build had a bit of healing to sustain this monster blob, maybe they will still have a chance. Anyways, we will be witnessing these hulks and crabs fighting to their bitter end. They are basically the only bastion of strength left for the Vampire Coast, as the Tide of Skull got wiped out by the Daemonettes, and finally Luthor Harkon has gone down to Azazel's relentless attacks. This frees up all these armor-piercing single entities to charge in, doing some massive damage to the rotting Promethean gunnery mob, since the Hell Scourges doesn't have the greatest AP to bring down armored monsters. At the back here, the Night Terrors are slowly waddling back. Well, not exactly slow, but they are basically infantry speed at 45 only. Personally, I think they deserve a little bit more speed, probably at 55 plus or even 60, like other foot monsters. Anyways, Azazel diving down once again, hitting the gunnery white in the face, and he will be quickly finishing off the remaining leadership of the zombie pirate, while the rotting Prometheans here holding quite well against the mostly defensive Hell Scourges, while the Daemonettes are still struggling to put down the rotting crabs. Yes, they are doing damage, but considering they have that numbers advantage, as well as the AP to ignore the rotting crab's armor, it is still rather slow, which buys enough time for the Night Terrors to come back again, surround that Marquis of Masochism, and give it a good session of beatdown. The Keeper of Secrets, being quite a glass cannon itself, is taking massive damage from the charge bonus and the surround. The Regiment of Renowned Mongols finally avenging their lord before the army losses is hit, as the last bit of gunnery white and the rotting Promethean gunnery mobs are quickly disintegrating into dust. The Night Terrors will soon to be following suit, and with that, Slaanesh shall stand victorious among a pile of drowned dead, rotting in the middle of a desert, which is quite ironic when you think about it. GG to Dardy Singh, and big thanks for sending in this fun replay. For the army performances, Azazel has been putting really good pressure against Luthor Harkon, there forcing him onto the ground and also catching him with a Phantasmagoria, allowing the Marquis of Masochism to catch up and just dumpster the poor Terrorgeist and the Vampire Coast Lord. As for the infantry here, Chaos Warriors, this one didn't get hit by all of that artillery and missile fire and actually managed to cleave through loads of zombies. For the other ones, unfortunately, they got destroyed by a combination of deck gunners debuffing their missile block chance and then showered by bullets from the regular pistol gunners. As for the flanking units, the Daemonists of Slaanesh also did some okay damage on this one not so much, as they took some serious damage from a combination of Night Terrors and also probably missile fire. Didn't really catch what they did here. Hell's Riders though, they managed to shut down all the artillery core. The carronades is down, the deck gunners are chased down as well, alongside with some help from the Chaos Furies. Over 1,000 gold worth of value. That's almost double their own cost. Their flanking charges against static artillery, especially deck gunners who are quite fragile themselves, really help them out with that extra charge bonus from the devastating flanker, since these static targets cannot easily turn around to face off their attackers. Also, there are some marauders with spears here, but unfortunately they didn't really do too much, as they do not have the armor-piercing damage to punch through the heavily armored rotting Prometheans. Now, for the vampire codes here, the zombie pirate gunnery mob, 800 gold worth of damage value. They themselves cost around, what, 300 something gold? So that is some massive value dealt against the rather squishy Slaanesh army. The rest of the zombie pirate gunnery mob though, unfortunately did not have that kind of luxury here to dish out the damage, so only having less than 400 gold on every one of them. And then the deck gunners did some, well, okay value, not great, as they can't even earn back their own value, mostly using their missiles to give the Chaos Warriors that debuff of Shield Breaker. Now, black spots here, they could have done a lot more damage, but unfortunately they are at the forefront of the entire Vampire Coast army, taking all the charges from the Hell Scourge Chaos Warriors, and of course that means that they can't really do much damage. Carronades with those shots hitting the expensive regiment of Renowned Keepers of Secret did some good damage value. Animated Hulks, unfortunately, despite cleaving through some of these Hell Scourge Slaanesh warriors, the high defense means that the lack of attack on the animated Hulks will have a hard time doing significant damage in a short period of time. Still, their armor piercing would be quite useful in punching through their armor. The Tide of Skuld somehow managed to earn back almost double of their own value here, as their numbers and stats allow them to drag down quite a few of these glass cannon daemonettes. The bombers got ran down by the Hell Scourges, unfortunately not doing much value themselves. Now, for the monsters, Rotting Prometheans, they are mostly a defensive unit. They probably earn back their value, at least close to their own value cost, while the Night Terrors chase down a bunch of Hell's Riders, but unfortunately they themselves are quite squishy without much armor and will be quite susceptible to Hell's Riders. Luthor Harkon getting chased by Azazel the entire game, so not much value as well. Gunnery White though did some nice value with those shots, but that's basically it. And yeah, that's basically it for today's battle. Viewers, I hope you enjoy it, and if you do, remember to hit the like and subscribe to get notified every time I upload new videos, which will be ranging from battle replays like this one, wild army builds, tips and strategies for Total War Warhammer multiplayer. And if you have your own replays that you want to showcase, feel free to drop by my Discord or send me an email with the replay file attached. I'll be sure to check them out. And yeah, that's it for today. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Tactical Lich, signing out.